Hello parents, welcome to the next edition of the SIS Kelapa Distance Learning for Parents series. The topic for today is about the additional tools, the additional software tools and activities that we are gradually introducing as part of our distance learning plan. Now, as you know, at SIS KG, we have decided on a basics first approach to distance learning. And our planning and thinking behind this is quite extensive. Not all parents realize the breadth and length of the change that's required to do what we normally do in a physical school environment to doing it fully online. Schools are very complex institutions. They have to cater for not just a whole bunch of different age levels. You've got large numbers of students in the same room for many hours every day. You've got diverse teachers. You've got behavior management. You've got attempts to inspire students to teach values. You've got different kinds of curriculum outcomes and assessment going on. It's a very complex structure. And schools over decades have developed all kinds of systems, and teachers have acquired all kinds of skills to make this work effectively. Even here at SIS Kelapa, over the last 10, 15 years, we have gradually developed policies and procedures that work. We've learned from our experiences and finely tuned to make learning efficient and effective, and to really show the level of care for safety and security and students' well-being that we need in any institution that's focused on minors. Now, of course, now we've had to move very quickly and very suddenly in an unprecedented worldwide event to potentially a very long period of distance learning. Now, we hope and we are planning for a restart to normal classroom-based education from the end of July on schedule. So we are planning for that, we are hoping for that, but I think we all know that this may not happen, and no one knows for sure how things are going to unfold in coming months. And so it's possible that term 1 or even term 2 as well for next academic year could still be done by distance learning. And so knowing that was possible from the very beginning, we've tried to lay a good foundation in place that could last a long period of time if needed, rather than throwing all these kinds of temporary bells and whistles that wouldn't be sustained for a long period of time. So the basics first approach has meant that we've tried to focus on the technology and the student supervision and making sure that students are engaged during these first few weeks of distance learning. It's a huge change for parents also, as well as for the school. Parents do not normally have to supervise their children all day, every day. Parents don't normally have to have this level of involvement in their children's education. And so there are all kinds of issues around that as well. So that's why we've used all our non-core teachers to become parent support officers, to call parents proactively, to keep in touch with them, to make sure we can troubleshoot any technology issues, supervision issues, students that are not being engaged for some reason, to follow up and try to get each family fully involved and active in distance learning. That's been a big part of our focus for these first few weeks. Secondly, we know that we've had to spend some time making sure that all parents and all teachers are fully familiar with all the learning platforms. And this takes time. Before the end of term 3, we had already run training sessions for teachers because we knew that this could happen. Actually, we didn't expect at all that we would start term 4 in distance learning, but we knew that we could do this before too long. So we had done training in software, but you can't learn this kind of thing just in one training session. You need several sessions, you need follow-up, you need support in place as well. And so for parents and for teachers and for students, we've all had to allow this time for adjustment to the various online platforms that we are using. And we know that some parents struggle with these a lot, Other parents pick it up quite fast, but we have to cater for this variety in our community. So the teacher upskilling has continued. So even past the live face-to-face training we did for teachers in term 3, we've had to continue to run Zoom training calls during the weeks as well. So as well as teaching your kids, they're also learning at different times of the day. And so teachers have been quite busy over these last few weeks. And we've especially tried to focus on video creation. This is a challenging skill. It can be limited by internet capacity and device capacity, but also by developing teacher confidence. We've improved our capacity in recent weeks in relation to that. And then another focus for these first few weeks has been informing parents of what we're doing. We call it over communication. That is lots of letters, lots of emails describing what we're doing, Zoom parent meetings where you can hear it from me face to face as well, and also ask your questions, and also through videos like this one, where you can watch it over and over again if you want to really understand how we are doing certain things. So that, plus the parent support officers, is our attempt to really communicate strongly with our community. We know everyone is stressed. We know everyone is feeling anxious. We know sometimes tempers can be easily aroused during this time, and people can react to things. So we've tried very hard to communicate extensively with parents during this time, during these first few weeks, to lay the foundation for possibly quite a long period of distance learning to come. We've also started the term 4 using mostly platforms for communication that were already familiar, so WhatsApp and email. And so we don't really want to use these long term because they're not very efficient. We don't want everyone part of several different WhatsApp groups and following all of those streams all the time. We know not every parent checks their email regularly. And so those have been the initial approach, but we want to gradually have more and more parents relying on using the platforms directly to see what their students have been asked to do and to then support as best they can with their children at home. So again, prior to the start of term 4, we had already rolled out some software and done some training in these areas. So of course, Zoom, we had done some Zoom training for parents. We have some paid accounts to supplement the free accounts. The free accounts that most teachers have only have a 40-minute window for a single Zoom call. We think that in many cases, 40 minutes will be enough, but of course, sometimes it will not be. And so on those occasions, we have some paid Zoom accounts that teachers can use also to have calls for a longer period of time. So it's taken a couple of weeks, I guess, to get that really clear and operating efficiently. Seesaw, we had already established that in preschool, but for primary 1 and primary 2, it was new. So our teachers and our parents and the students have all had to learn this new software in a new way. And so some of them would have experienced it when they were in preschool, but we've had many parents from other schools come and join us in primary 1 that didn't experience Seesaw when they were in preschool. And so that's been quite a big thing to roll out for the students, parents, and teachers of primary 1 and primary 2 over the last few weeks. Now, Google Classroom was already well established in secondary and junior college, but it was new to primary 3 to 6. So once again, teachers have had training, several sessions of training on this. Students also have now started to get used to it, know how to use it now. Parents also have now been included and can see what's going on in Google Classroom. So once again, starting off with these simple, basic platforms, making sure the vast majority of teachers and students and parents can use them and know what is going on. We've also introduced a software called PowerToon, which we subscribed to a few weeks back, that enables teachers to create animations to make their videos more interesting. We also did some training on Google Forms, which can be used kind of like an online worksheet, but it also can be used for all kinds of assessments as well. So we did training for that, and students have been using that right from the very beginning in week 1. So they were the existing things that we started with at first. But now we want to try and start to gradually bring in some new applications. We don't want to bring in too many because we don't want to confuse everyone with too many new things to learn. But as the time is being extended now for distance learning, we want to make sure that students are fully engaged. And there are some purpose-built applications that are gamified. That means that they have some of the characteristics of games that just make them more engaging for students, so that the students maybe feel more motivated to use them and get more feedback in real time through the game system. And so by doing this, we hope that parents will need to be less involved and we can require less effort from parents to get students doing the various activities, because the online services themselves are more engaging and will draw in the students' interest more. Still not perfect. No matter how much you try and make it interesting, math is still math. Chinese is still Chinese. But at least we can make it more interesting and more engaging and help the students to be able to do it more independently than maybe they can do it right now. That's the goal behind these new kinds of applications. And so you would have seen in primary school, we've been trialing qubits. It's going very well. And so we'll be rolling out qubits math throughout primary 1 to primary 6. And this will be a great way that students can improve their skills, practice, refine, check their understanding, and also develop new skills. So this should be a very engaging program that if students feel that they've got nothing else left to do, they can always go to qubits and do half hour of math through this engaging online program. Similarly, in secondary 1 and secondary 2, we're rolling out mathletics. It's a similar kind of program. Both qubits and mathletics are very well known internationally. Qubits is from Singapore. Mathletics is all over the world. And these are both award-winning programs that we've researched carefully and have used them previously in the school also at different times in our history. And so these will be great additions. We will subscribe to these for all students, at least until the end of June, hopefully into July as well, so that you can also use them during the holidays if you want your children to continue their learning during this long time at home. It's kind of, in some ways, a replacement tutor as well. In the last week, we've been rolling out a new program to teachers called Nearpod. Nearpod enables the online Zoom call conferences to work more interactively. So rather than students watching the teacher and listening to the teacher, and then one student at a time can talk, by using Nearpod, all the students can answer the teacher's question at the same time. And there can be much more interaction while the teacher is talking in live real time on the Zoom call. This is going to make those calls much more effective and much more interesting for students. So teachers have learned that. They're starting to try that out right now, but in coming weeks, you'll see more and more of those Zoom calls using Nearpods, for certain subjects and grade levels. Finally, we are also well aware that the learning of Chinese is a big stress for many parents who just feel inadequate to help their children. And we really don't expect parents to teach their children Chinese. And so it's okay to say, my child can't do this. We don't expect parents to teach their kids or to force their kids to do something in relation to Chinese. So over the last couple of weeks, we've tried to shift our emphasis away from learning new characters and writing and more onto oral pronunciation. And so we're doing more work on the oral side, and we will catch up the writing side once we return to normal school. We'll still do a bit of writing, but the focus is more now on the oral learning. But to supplement that, we are evaluating 2 possible programs for Chinese now as well. So again, this will enable the student to learn by themselves without the parent support and to continue to improve their Chinese skills so they keep up to date. And so that's going to be the goal of this program as well. Now, as well as these new software programs we're rolling out, you will have all noticed that there's a new activity that we are now running every week called SIS Fun at Home. And so what we've done here is we've tried to utilize all the non-core teachers. We're already using them now for the parent support officers, but they've now also formed a committee to plan and run these SIS Fun at Home activities. So the idea behind this is to have a weekly project. So the weekly project is designed to be engaging and stimulating and interesting. And we want to try and maintain this good sense of community cohesion and belongingness, in our community. And so the weekly project will be sent out on a Monday. Students will have 1 week to work on it. You might like to wait till the weekend to do this, that's fine. And there's not a whole lot of pressure in this. It's not kind of strictly compulsory, but we really do want to encourage all students to engage in this every week. Now, the idea behind this is to lift all of our spirits, to do something that's interesting, that's creative, that's engaging, and that will enhance our well-being. So if we're just focused on learning, math, English, Chinese, and science, and Bahasa, that's kind of a narrow range of school activities. Normally, school is much more than just that. And so we're going to try and draw upon some of the non-core teacher subject skills, some CCA kinds of skills as well. At the same time, build this good relational connection among our whole community. And so we're trying to also at the same time develop some of these non-core subject skills. We did discuss assessing these, but in the end we decided not to assess them because we didn't want to take away from our desire to make this fun and energy creating and interesting for the students. And so they won't be assessed, but we do strongly encourage all children, all students to get involved in them. And they will develop some skills as they go, including religion, PPKN, art, music, drama, all those non-core areas that we would normally have as part of our school experience. Okay, parents, that's all from me this time. Have a great day.